Alaman nyo.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever or whenever you may be. This is the overnight. And tonight we've got American Hillbilly up. How's it going, Hillbilly?
I'm doing great, buddy. How you guys doing tonight?
I'm doing good.
All right.
And Gun Websites, U-Webs, how you doing?
Fair to Midland. Thanks for hosting.
Appreciate you being here. You're going to make people have to go to the bathroom.
That's what I'm trying to do. ASMR, except you got to go to the bathroom now. Especially in the middle of the night, a bunch of old dudes. Now y'all have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, if Gary was here, he'd be gone. So let's see who was out there. Gun Websites was first. G23 was out there. Life on the Death Star. Guns and Water. Hillbilly Up. Ozzy Osbourne. Mr. Bob Dabalina. And I know there was Garage Guy. Garage Guy's out there. Good evening. Almost didn't have a chat tonight. I was going to push it off and do it Wednesday instead because I still have a bit of a cold, but I felt a lot better. Got in a nap earlier, so.
Is that how Gizzard got sick? What were you guys doing?
Well, you know what happens in the coop stays in the coop. Gunmetal Guy USA out there.
Oops.
He's still in Texas, ain't he?
Yeah, he said he was sick though.
Yeah. I think he also got the croup when he went to SHOT Show too.
I think that's one of the things they give out for free at SHOT Show is the crud. Because every year, a lot of people get sick from it. Being that close with all those people from everywhere. Cowgirl Candace is out there. She says her and Baron are adopting a puggle tomorrow.
What is that?
Probably a pug and a beagle, I would guess.
Hey.
Yeah, my mother has one. It's half beagle and half pug.
What does that look like?
It looks like a beagle body with a pug face.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much exactly.
It's like a pug with a different color.
Yeah, they stand a little taller and stuff like a beagle, but they have the pug face.
I've never known anybody with a beagle, so I've never been around beagles. I didn't know that was a thing, though. What was it called again?
Beagles are beloved of this channel.
Puggle? I'm going to look it up.
I've never seen one personally, but they're taking suggestions for names.
Yeah. They kind of look like a pug. Oh, I see what they look like now. Okay. He's looking at them. He's looking over the pictures of them.
Dang, she said she had a 70-pound beagle.
That's a large beagle.
That's a lot of beagle right there.
I mean, you have to be careful because they're born hungry and stay hungry. So it's easy for them to get overweight because they will eat no matter what. If
That's
you're,
interesting.
And they do like to bark. So if you don't like barking, then
well,
That's what they look like.
barking and the baying.
Yeah, the baying,
I could see that. They look more like a dog than this guy. They probably got less face issues. Don't these dogs have face issues because they're so little? Their noses are so little. That one looks like it has a real nose still.
Beagles don't really.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like I bet you this is to get rid of all the issues that a straight pug has.
Uh,
And they look better. I like that color better. He's looking at him. Okay.
Guns and Water and High Hillbilly. G23 saying Walther is a name.
Oh, for a dog?
Yeah.
I let the dogs exist for a little while and then figure out a name. Does that make sense? Like have them around for a little while and they kind of create a name for themselves.
be quite honest, we think of names, and as we own the dog for a while, we basically let it choose the name at once.
Right. They'll act like something. Or they'll
One
look
they
like
react
something.
to and they seem happy about, that becomes their name.
Yeah, that's true too. What they like being called. Because if you call them like Snuffleupagus, they probably ain't gonna want to listen to all that.
Well, it doesn't
Snuffleupagus.
really matter
And
what you
also,
call them.
pick a name that you're not embarrassed to stand outside and yell.
Right, that's a good one.
My daughter had a dang dog girl. She named it Princess. So here I'm out in the front yard yelling Princess. You know, so, I mean.
Mr. Bob Doubleina says Pugsley. Oops, if it's a boy. But I think, yeah, Candace said it was a girl. You could still call it Pugsley. The dog won't know the difference.
You might
G20.
choose Barky McBarks a lot.
How many of you? I had a Doberman that was papered or whatever, and they have their real name, and then they have the name you call them. Like, do you ever give a dog a name and then end up calling it something else because it doesn't like its name? Or
Oh, like a papered name?
Yeah. Like because I got him in a trade, so he was legit, and he was cut, like he was uncut, so he could have puppies and stuff. So they got to give him a real name because it's on this. It's part of the dad's pedigree or whatever. It's like part of the dad's lineage and stuff. So he had to have a real name. But anyway, and when you buy a pedigree from the official, I forget who I bought it from, some certification place, you give them this big long name, but I'm not going to name them all that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how it was.
Or I mean, I'm not going to call them all that every time.
Some of the horses we own, Missouri Foxtrotters.
Oh, really?
And they had their paper name, but then that's not basically what we called them, and they went by.
When I was working for the Forest Service, they used Missouri Foxtrotters. So I've spent a year breaking, well, kind of, for the winter, getting them back to rideable after the winter, and then riding them all summer up in the mountains.
Great riding horse, man.
They're awesome. There was a place that they would buy them. I got to go out to the breeder once in a while, and the breeder had Missouri Foxtrotters that they kept buying. The Forest Service was buying, but then they also had Percherons, and that's when I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna have. Is that how you say it? Percheron? It's a Clydesdale that's all black, so it's this giant black. That's all black Clydesdale. It's amazing. They're huge. They're amazing.
Have a good night, G23.
But everybody told me I couldn't ride it. I would like it's a draft horse. You're not supposed to ride it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to ride it. So I'm going to go try and Percheron and ride it anyway. I'm huge. I could ride it. And then I have this little guy running around behind me.
The beagle that we had was registered with wasn't the AKC. It was like the UKC. The place when your dogs aren't good enough, just so you can have papers.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was something like if you had to go through a loop, like go through some hurdles to get them. I've never had a dog with papers before, but I didn't realize there's more than one place to get papers. I was just told, pay these people this amount of money and you get your papers.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the name was on the. I didn't, we put the papers away and never looked at them.
I got a little Doberman, so I called him Bubba's New Teeth because Bubba was getting old. Bubba was my first dog, and he was like a super elderly dog when I got the Doberman. So his name was Bubba's New Teeth.
My beagle's name was Tenchi. Well, no. God, now I can't even remember. It was a Japanese name. It was My Little Angel because when I brought him home, he was my little angel.
How do you say little puppy in Japanese?
I don't know. I have forgotten most of the Japanese that I've ever known. And half of it was just dirty words. So
my grandma taught me how to say some Czechoslovakian stuff. So one time I met a girl who was Czechoslovakian and I was saying stuff and she's like, she essentially was going to slap me. And I'm like, I swear my grandma taught me these words. And she's like, yeah, they don't mean the same as when your grandma learned those words. Or when your grandma was, whenever my grandma learned them, like the words have different meanings.
My wife's made her friends stop teaching me words.
They just messing with you?
No, I would specifically ask for words.
Oh, okay. So when you go to Japan, there's like, is it behavior? There's like, the way to act in public or whatever. Like there's, I don't want to say it's traditional, but like there's like the rules of society, I guess.
Yeah.
How much of that applies when a Japanese community is not in Japan?
Oh, it still applies. There's still a lot of it.
Like 80%, 60%, or is it like over time it changes? Or
I would say over time it changes. Just they become acclimated with the U.S. But there's still a lot of it because what they grew up with. It's kind of ingrained in them.
Now, where you're at, is there still a bunch of people that are like first? What do they call that? Like first generation, or like is that first generation when you move here, or you're just an immigrant, I guess? But is there a lot of like new people moving here all the time? That's what I always hear from the West Coast.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I mean, yes, but I don't know if if it's a lot or a little bit. Because when I met my wife, she was basically an exchange student and going to WSU. And well, I guess not exchange student, but a foreign student. And then she met me and then kind of stuck around. I have ground down some of her finer edges to where she puts up with a lot more than she probably would have, in Japan. But I wore a little groove in there so we fit.
So she's over there now, right now?
No. No, she's here.
Oh, I thought she's going over there.
No, she goes back every couple years to go visit her mom. And we'll take the kid. Well, it was just my son. They're going to go this year and take our daughter so she can meet grandma for the first time.
That's exciting. Awesome.
Now, when you live there, is it like, I want to go home, so I'm going to book flights in some way that it's super cheap? Or do you have to save up and just bite it and pay a lot of money for flights?
You just save up because there's no super cheap. It used to, when I first went, I think, this would have been 99, 2000, somewhere right in there. I think we paid, it was probably about $600 or $800 for round trip. And now I can't, I swear it's almost doubled. I can't remember what tickets were this year. I know I looked at it.
Do you know if they're still doing the thing where they did for a while after the issue with was it an earthquake that messed up their nuclear thing? But for a little while after that, maybe a year later or something, they were literally like paying people good money to come over there and do tourism. Like creators, people that were going to go over there and chat it up and be like, "Hey, look how cool Japan is now. Come over here." Do you remember when they were doing that?
I don't know.
I think we talked about it here. I think
I heard there was. God, I came across a video, something along that vein, but I don't remember exactly what the video was about. It was one town that was trying to get tourists, but I don't remember.
That could have been it. Yeah, like a Department of Commerce in a region or something.
Yeah. Again, I don't remember exactly
wherever Mount Fuji is. I keep seeing on Instagram all the time that wherever Mount Fuji is, they've like changed things because there's so many tourists that they're essentially saying like, don't come around here no more. They're making it difficult. You can only be a tourist from like noon to 3 or something like that.
I don't know.
Because they were ruining the towns trying to take pictures of Mount Fuji.
Oh, it is. I do enjoy going. I haven't been there in a long time. Because it got to be where basically my wife is having to look after two kids, my son and me.
So if you go, do you sneak off and try to buy a sword somewhere?
No, I don't. When I go, I don't go. I keep my wife within eye shot because if we get separated, I'm in trouble.
Because you don't know anything.
Yeah.
And isn't it like a place where if like you're not, if you're obviously a foreigner, that everybody's super nice to you?
Well, they are super nice. It's when I go, it's kind of nice because I feel I'm kind of separate from everything that's going on, but everybody's nice and tolerant.
Yeah, like they're patient, right? They're not like some like France. When I get the impression France is like impatient with Americans.
Unless it's rush hour. If it's rush hour, they'll knock you down to get to where they're going.
Because you're in the way.
Where's this at, Foss?
In Japan.
Oh, okay, yeah. We had an exchange student from Japan lived with us for school year.
That'd be cool. As you're the dad, or when you were a kid?
When I as a dad, my kids were still going to school. Or at least at that time my youngest daughter was still going to school.
Was that something your kids wanted, or something you just decided to do for your kids?
Well, it all started because I had 3 daughters, and So we had like the two oldest ones that graduated. So I still had a daughter that was like a freshman. So we actually had some extra bedrooms, and there was an exchange student. Our very first one was an exchange student was coming to the school, but something had fell through with his host family, and they didn't have nowhere for him to stay. Well, we actually, we much in small school, we know all the teachers and stuff, and so the teachers kind of running all that. He asked my daughter, said, "Do you think your dad would they'd have room till we just found another host family?" So she asked me, and I'm like, "Oh yeah." And this kid, the first one was from Malaysia, and we absolutely loved it. And so after that, we had 2 exchange students every year until she graduated.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
had it. They were all fun. We had so
Do you
much fun.
pick where the kids are coming from, or you just say I'm willing to do it, and then whatever kid shows
Well,
up?
you sign up with there's a lot of places out there. AUSA, which is basically abbreviated name, is one of them. And so you
So it's
basically can sign up, and then you let them know like if you would like 1 student or 2 or whatever, male or female. And I stuck with males because personally, I raised 3 daughters. And so I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to have some boys around the house, to be able to, do stuff with or whatever, And so, but yeah, we had 1 the first year, and then we had 2, males from different company or different countries every year after that. And they're most usually around the age of 15 to sometimes 18,
Yeah, high school.
Yeah, we had Japan, Malaysia, Italy, Holland, South Africa. I think that's all of them. So
That's
yeah,
cool. I went
we
to
become
high school. I had some
lifelong friends with a lot of them, with their families and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. It's like a pretty interesting thing. I never was able to do anything like that, but I had friends that had, like you're saying, like they kind of constantly had that foreign exchange kids. And then my friend, I think his sisters booked out of there, and they did it in other countries. And that's, I think, probably how it got started. I thought it was through the school, though. So you're saying it's like an independent thing. You just decide to do it, and then they enroll in the school that's near you or something.
yeah, and actually, the one boy from Holland, his younger sister ended up coming, and she stayed with my wife's brother and wife because they had 3 daughters. So, at the time we didn't have any kids in school, so she actually stayed with them. So, yeah, it was a great deal. And just if anybody's interested, it is great, but you do not get paid nothing for this.
Well, that was my next question. You're just footing the whole bill for the kids, right? Like you
provide them a room and basically meals. They provide their own clothes. They provide any expenses themselves, like school or whatever, or any extracurricular, stuff. But yeah, you don't you don't make any money at it. It's like, and
goodwill thing. Yeah.
yes, but it is great. I mean, we just had so much fun. I mean, instead of fixing dinner for 3, we fixed dinner for 5. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Did any of them have a job, or did they all just go to school?
No, they just went to school. Yeah, because they can be here either a semester or a school year, one or the other. Which they choose that before they join the program.
And at least from my experience, they're all like pretty smart kids. Like it's not like they're just picking kids at random. These are kids that like work for it and like appreciate it, right?
Yeah, they have more than likely they're in some type of a program that their country allow them to be able to do this. So maybe if it's academic or whatever the case might be, it does it. And then I think like they could actually just do it on the financial basis. Somebody, so they want their kid wants to be an exchange student, they can pay for everything. But I do know there is some academic, basically like scholarships in a way that helps pay for it or something sometimes.
I know I've heard of some of them that are like band or like a specific, like whatever that would be, like an area of interest or a skill set, I guess. And they'll come over and, play in a band over here.
And to be quite honest with you guys, the person that started all this was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before
it was something that was forever. I didn't even think about when it started.
Yeah, but really didn't have these programs before then. His whole deal was he wanted other countries to be able to send their kids here so they could know what USA is about and the culture and stuff. He wanted to like reach out, to other countries. So he's actually was the person that started all that.
That's super cool, especially when you think about that's at the end of the Cold War, and like the whole idea of like awareness and understanding is an alternative to fear and what all the other things that create attention.
Caucasian Sasquatch and Bubba Triclops Ballistics is out there. Good evening.
You gonna have any kind of poll or talk about any kind of poll or anything?
I didn't do a poll.
You should just work off a New York Outcast poll. He's never awake, and you could just act like they're his poll, they're your polls, and then we could chat about his polls. I did a poll. What did I do? I did the monkey one, the Planet of the Apes one. It had like 3,000 things or whatever. You should look at that one lately. I mean, you wouldn't look at it, but it was like, wow, this thing has 2,000 like responses. I've never gotten that before. And then I went back a few days later. It was like at 3,000. So I guess you can have a poll go viral. And I didn't do nothing fancy. I just said, which is your favorite monkey movie? And put 4 of them in there. It was nothing controversial, but it must be because that movie's new.
Oh, I watched District 9.
Oh, good. Well,
I don't remember what I thought when it came out, because I know it didn't look appealing, but when I watched it, it was nothing like I was expecting.
What were you expecting then?
I didn't know. I kind of probably something more like
a Predator.
No. What's the one from the 80s that's kind of similar where the alien ship is stranded?
Alien Nation.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking something more like that.
Yeah. So hopefully, have you seen District 9? It's about the alien ship in South Africa, and it kind of breaks down, and then all the aliens jump off, and they're kind of kept in like a ghetto, and then eventually they go, hey, we're going to move you to this other ghetto, and that's sort of the point of the story. And the aliens look like big shrimps. He's muted.
He's always muted.
I may be taking care of a opossum or something over there. But anyway, so did you like it or no?
I did. Probably not as much as you from the way.
Yeah, I probably hyped it up too much. I can't get enough of how good the special effects are, and it's old, so it's like
that was one thing that kind of stood out is the special effects kind of still stand up.
Right, like it's just so cool, it's so seamless, and then that I really like mech suits, and it's got a mech suit, and I like oversized crazy alien weapons. Who doesn't? And it has a bunch of them. I mean, this plot's a little weird, but then I kind of like those South African movies where they're weird. And I think that's Peter Jackson, because I think he did Chappie also. So you probably haven't seen Chappie?
I've seen some of Chappie.
Chappie's hard to watch. People hate Chappie. I get it. I like Chappie because I like weird stuff. But, man, it's so good. The robot in the movie about the robot part of Chappie is awesome. I don't know why he put those 2 weird characters in it that kind of ruined it for everybody. But the rest of the movie at Chappie it's everything you want out of iRobot. It's like better and like grittier. You know, there's guns and stuff. iRobot's got like space water pistols or whatever.
Ron Wayne's out there. And
So what do you think the next one you're going to watch is?
I don't know. I was gonna watch the Godzilla King Kong one because I saw it was on Prime, but it's still like $12.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait for it to come down a little bit.
I've been watching stuff on Prime because the thing I was watching glitched for a few days. That happens every once in a while. And maybe it's the solar storms that we're doing. But I can't get over. I'm paying for Prime. I mean, I shouldn't shut up. Amazon is doing good right by me. But I'm paying for Prime. And I'm getting commercials when I watch a free movie on Prime. Like, come on. What the heck? I shouldn't have to watch a commercial in the middle of a movie like the olden days.
What are you watching the freebie stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the commercials.
Yeah. I mean, I'm paying for Prime, but I'm not paying some kind of extra Prime. I'm just paying for whatever. So I get free shipping, and then they give me a bunch of movies. But I mean, that's not that bad. Plus, the only thing is you can press. I just press the right arrow on my keyboard like 6 times or 10 times or whatever, and it gets past the commercial. But it's still annoying to have to reach over.
I lately have been doing if I order something off Amazon, if it's not something I need right now, then I'll choose if there's a credit. If you choose a slower, instead of 2 day, like 3 days, sometimes you'll get a digital credit you can apply towards movies and stuff. So I've started doing that. So, you get a movie for like $1.50. Captain Scarlet's out there. Good evening.
Is that new? A new person?
I'm not sure if I'm remembering them or just the puppet TV shows.
I was just making a comment to Matt earlier to see where he was at with some of the movies I watched, and I typed it all up and I was about to send it to him, and then he glitched out and dropped off of his show. So then I waited for a little while, and then his show ended. So he must not have had enough internet to get back. But I had like 5 movies that I watched recently that I was going to ask him about. I'm looking to see if I can figure out what they are again. One of them is called Jade. It's kind of like a black. What do they call that? Black. What do they call
Blaxploitation?
Is that the word? Right? Something. It's like starts with black and it's got exploitation, but I don't know. I'm missing the middle part of it. But it's one of those types, and it's like a 2024 trying to act like that. So it's not a really good version. It's not like a cool 70s like one of the really good ones like Shaft or something. But it's okay. Then what about Fall Guy? You gonna watch that one, or do we talk about that?
No, I didn't want. I had no plans on watching it.
Yeah, that one's horrible. They turned it into like a rom-com. I don't know why they even called it Fall Guy, other than they're probably hoping to incite people that like the Fall Guy. Yeah. So I would highly recommend against that unless you just want to be annoyed. I mean, it is kind of good, but only if you liked Barbie, because it's kind of like a Barbie movie.
I didn't watch the Barbie movie.
I've not either. My wife's been wanting to watch that. I'm like, come on.
I tried to watch it, and then it wasn't for me. But I get it. Like, if you want to watch it, go for it. It's kind of like Gumby. Like, I'm not watching Gumby, but I get it if people like Gumby. Like, it's unique and it's its own thing. So I watched one called Unfrosted. It's got Jerry Seinfeld in it. You heard about this one?
No.
So the Pop-Tart, right? I think it's called the Comedy History Biography. And it says, in 1963, Michigan business rivals Kellogg's and Post compete to create a cake that could change breakfast forever. So I was like, what? I don't like Jerry Seinfeld, so I wasn't going to watch it. But there's somebody else in it I don't like, so I wasn't going to watch it. But it's essentially like every comedian from the 90s, I think, is in this movie, or maybe the two. Like a lot of comedians I've seen before. It's one of those kind of movies where just like people are in it for just a moment or two. And it's like Jerry Seinfeld is Kellogg's, some blonde comedian is Post, and they're both trying to make the Pop-Tart. and it's this weird like. I don't think it's. I mean, it might have been something like the real story, but it's all comedy. Anyway, I don't like any of the actors hardly, but I like the movie. Like I could totally. And if you like Jerry Seinfeld, you're probably gonna love it. Like it's pretty hilarious. Not hilarious, but it's pretty witty, I guess. Like there's a lot of times that I was like, oh my god, like I was just laughing because they're all comedians. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, too bad Gizzard's not on her. He's probably seen all these movies.
Good point. That's why he's sick from eating all the popcorn, watching all the movies he's been watching.
No, on his channel, the hands that gave him a list. There's so many movies that like everybody's seen and Gizzard's never seen them. They're like box office hits.
But I don't like. Well, I don't
There's
know.
a lot of. I'm
I'm
looking
there.
at the cast and crew from Unfrosted.
Right? It's a lot of people. It's one of those
There
movies
is.
where there's like 6 characters in the whole movie, but everybody else is just like in there for a line or two. It's pretty cool. And there's one called Hitman from this year. A professor moonlighting as a hitman. And it's sort of like a comedy of errors type of thing and a little bit of an action movie. So a guy is helping out the police department by building like the microphones they use for undercover cops. And then one of the undercover cops, something happens and they ask him, hey, can you just go do the role of the undercover, just this one time? And then it turns out he really is good at it and he does it for, he continues to do it. And then the movie starts. So it sets up with that. He's just a high school teacher who was helping him with the electronics, accidentally started playing a hitman. And then it's a movie about that character who then gets into all kinds of crazy stuff in like a real complicated comedy type of movie. So that one's pretty good. And it has like some of the people that are in, I think Parks and Recreation, that TV show. So it's comedians that know what they're doing. I got I think a couple more. Last Stop in Yuma County is
I don't know that one.
they consider it a thriller crime, and it's not really Wes. What's that guy who makes the weird movies? Wes something. How he has like that characteristic type of look to his movies.
Now I've got all the other Wes's stuck in my head. Wes Craven,
Yeah.
Westmoreland, Wes.
What they want to talk about? It's kind of like that, but not anywhere near as weird. It's just sort of a situation thing, and it's like this gas station in the middle of nowhere. It's one of these movies where the whole thing is filmed in the restaurant and this next to a gas station in the middle of nowhere, Yuma, Arizona. And it's sort of like the criminals bring the bag of money. They're out of gas, so everybody's waiting at the gas station for the gas truck to show up. And it's like a comedy of errors and a bunch of twisted plots, and it's almost like a stage show, right? So it's okay.
Wes Anderson.
Except it's not quite as like crazy as that. I think we've already talked about Ungentlemanly Warfare movie, right? The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
We've talked about it a little bit. I haven't seen it.
Highly recommend it. That one's super good. I've watched it. Pretty much I've watched it every week because I just keep watching it. It's good. I can't wait for it to come out in decent quality so I can watch it for real.
So Vanessa had asked, do you actually heat up Pop-Tarts or do you munch them straight up?
That's actually a part of the movie. So I don't eat them that often, but I have eaten them both ways. Normally I'm eating them camping, so I don't eat them.
Life on the Death Star said Pop-Tarts must be toasted.
I get it. Well, here's the question. Do you put frosting on them or not? Or do you get the ones with frosting on them or not? Because I think that makes a difference.
I prefer the unfrosted ones, but you can't find them around here anymore.
Oh, really? I thought it was sort of an option all the time.
I prefer them toasted, but I've gotten lazy, so I don't spend the time toasting them. I just open them and eat them.
But I can't remember last time I ate a Pop-Tart.
I
we used to get them camping because they're good, for breakfast when you're camping.
There used to be a cinnamon and sugar Pop-Tart that was not frosted. That was kind of the one I liked. But like I said, I must really go for an Eggo or something over a Pop-Tart.
I hear that. If I want to eat dessert, I'll eat dessert. I don't want to eat sweet foods for breakfast or whatever. Fair enough.
Like Captain Scarlet said, room temperature. Just
But I pretty
go
much
for it.
exclusively eat chocolate ones. I'm not going to eat any of that fruit stuff. I don't like fruit that much. Or that
Right
kind of
now, in the pantry, we have blueberry, strawberry, and raspberry Pop-Tart.
pass on all those kind of flavors. Do they have frosting on them? Or are they for the kids? Or
They do.
because I think when you put frosting in the toaster, it gets hot at a different level than the insides, right? So then you got to let it cool down, and that seems like a lot of effort. I would just eat the thing before I did all that. And if I was going to heat it up and take it to school or something, I wouldn't want frosting on it because I wouldn't want it to get all over whatever napkin I'm going to cram it into. So then the last movie I'll bring up is The Weapons of Mass Migration. You heard about this one? It's made by Epoch Times or something like that.
I
like a
think
newspaper.
I've heard the title, but I don't know anything about it.
I think Matt did a video. I didn't watch it, but he did a video ranting about it. It's definitely made for like Conda and Matt. It's essentially, how long is it? It's 40 minutes of a documentary about the migration situation. And their position is that the migration's coming from way down in South America and all over the world, but the people from all over the world jump over to Central and sometimes South America because China's building a big bridge over this. I don't know if you pay attention, but the road that goes from South America to North America only has one break in it where South America and Central America touch each other. And they never built anything to make that easy because of cocaine. So they never wanted a road there. No country ever wanted to build a road there because it would make it too easy to bring cocaine up north. And now meth and everything else. And people now. But anyway, China is building a bridge. Isn't that nice of them? So now they're building a bridge down there that will connect the South America and Central America, which has, I guess, been a big engineering feat. It's never been done until 2024, right? But anyway, it starts out down there, and according to them, most of the people from like other countries, that's where they'll jump over to the Americas because nobody cares if they jump over there, and then they just start coming up. And it's mostly talking about what they call NGOs, non-government organizations, entities that aren't states that are paying for all this, and that's the I don't know, is it a conspiracy theory or what? But the idea that if a non-government agency is creating or facilitating, I guess, paying for it, literally giving everybody credit cards and paying for their food and giving them essentially rest stops all along the way. They give them these maps and say, you got to go 200 miles to the next rest stop, go 200 miles to the next rest stop, and we'll feed you. Go 200 miles to the next rest stop. When they get to the United States, it's like, here's your credit card. Where do you want to go? And then they'll tell them what state they want to go to, and they bus them to that state or fly them or whatever.
Well, there's NGOs that are involved with that in Europe too.
Well, that's the thing. And they say, and then the big question is who's paying for all this and why? And it's globalization is their answer. Like they want to make this a global world instead of a bunch of countries. So move everybody around and get rid of nations, I guess, get rid of boundaries and borders and groups of people and stuff. I don't know, but it's 40 minutes. I watched parts of it and then I'm doing other things. So I didn't pay that much. I don't know if I'll watch it again, but it's been the most concise description of the path. But the only thing, here's the thing. I don't know. Things have changed. I don't know how much we want to talk about it, but things have changed since the old days. Because in the old days, we had people coming up from South America to work in factories up here. And the factories would say, hey, you want to come up and work in the United States? And then people would be like, hell yeah, because I can make as much as in a week in the United States or a month or whatever it was. It's like I would for a year down here. So yeah, I'll go up there and work for some amount of time, send back all that money to my family, and then at some point, either move on to another job or go back home. And I think for years, that's the way it was. And they were essentially temporary immigrants, if you could say that. Like they'd go back home or they'd, eventually stick around. But now it's a different situation because there's so many people coming from all over the world. And this show is made by Epoch Times. I think they're anti-Biden for sure because they say that it's all about Biden. So everybody they interview, they're like, hey, did Biden send you? Yes. See, Biden sent them. It's one of those kind of interviews. Ask him if Biden sent him. Blah 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 blah. Yes, Biden sent him. Oh, okay. I bet you that's all he said. You know, talked for like a half an hour in whatever language, and then he's like, "Yeah, Biden sent him." I mean, I don't know. It's definitely made by conservative, Trump probably, but at least anti-Biden organization. So it's you got to take everything with whatever. But like I said, I haven't seen anything else just describe the actual plight or the what would you call that? Like the trials that they have to go through. I've seen little images of it, but this essentially is 40 minutes of showing most of the dangers and trials and the things that they have to deal with and who they are. But again, we don't talk about all that. You don't want to.
That there, I saw a somewhat kind of, but not related to what we're talking about. The Super Size Me, the documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the story about that where he lied about a bunch of stuff.
Oh, really? There's a documentary talking about his documentary?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a documentary, but somebody did a video
An
on
investigation or whatever. Oh, it's like
Yeah.
a YouTube video. Oh, I
Yeah.
definitely want to watch that because I was watching that Super Size Me, and I don't love McDonald's or nothing. I haven't ate at McDonald's since 1989, so it's not like I care about McDonald's. But I always was skeptical of that, I guess, because he's also done like Super Size Me 2, and then like I don't know 5 or 6 other things that are like Super Size Me. So it's like his gimmick to like complain about something like that.
Yeah, he was a raging alcoholic, but
Oh, that
had
guy.
said that he didn't drink alcohol.
Oh,
So
you mean
it's-
while he was doing all that testing?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, that could definitely shockumentary. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, for sure. Right. That was what you had called Super Size Me. Yeah, that would definitely mess with your whatever those doctor numbers. The next one, test results.
the Saints out there. Speaking of shockumentary, the somewhat kind of not well put together topic that I had for tonight was the pro gun / 2A YouTubers that will kind of do that. Would almost misrepresent, but there's a couple. There's a few channels which I don't have unfollowed. They're bigger channels because they'll do that where, like, they'll say the Supreme Court ruled whatever, put that in the title. Show pictures of the Supreme Court justices, but when you go to watch the video, they're talking about state Supreme Court. Like the Colorado Supreme Court or the Illinois Supreme Court, which to me is misleading, and they do it on purpose. And I have heard.
Clickbait.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I mean, that's the definition of clickbait.
And I have heard some people kind of defend some of that by saying that people won't listen unless, you do stuff like that. Is that valid? Because there are a lot of gun owners who don't want to be involved. They just want to do their own thing, which I understand. But they kind of need to be involved to protect your rights. Like I said, I didn't have a real well planned out, but I thought maybe we'd talk about it. Is there validity to that? It kind of the ends justify the means.
Sorry, I was messing with my tiny hands. I got an actual set of tiny hands, but they have those little wands on them so that you can actually play with them better, I guess. Stick them through your sweatshirt better. But anyway, no, I think that that's detrimental as hell. It's exploitive because the people that are doing it are come and go. Like they're here to exploit and then leave as soon as they light a match and it burns everything down. They don't care. They're going to move on to the next thing. Because if they, and you know that's the case, because they wouldn't resort to what's the word, like that kind of tactic, right? They would do stuff more substantial. And I think that one or two times you can go, oh, I did something, something that went viral. Now I know, but if you double down and then you become a channel where all you do is the viral shit, and every time you look at something, you take the spin to make it more of a, like you're saying, clickbaity, or, like all that, then what you're doing is you're creating the environment where people are going to come in, get excited, figure out that it's a bunch of bullshit game, and then leave. I mean, how many times have we seen that happen? There's just so many people. We don't have the same group of people as in 2013. Ask yourself if you've been doing Second Amendment advocacy or awareness of Second Amendment advocacy since 2013. Very, very few people have. We had a group of people in 1994. I got to get my numbers right. When the assault weapons ban happened, all of those people voted everybody out of office. And then there wasn't nothing until Colorado did the magazine ban, and then everybody got voted out of office. So we've had these groups of people that understand like what we can do as a group, but then what happens is they're not needed, so they disperse and they just do other things, right? So guns are a hobby to most people. They're not a way of life or a fundamental thing that they spend their time talking about. It's like a casual thing for them. So that nature of our community, I think the people that we're talking about, the people that'll do the clickbait type of shit, they understand that those people are a commodity that comes and goes. Like they'll have 100 of them today, but they'll have 2,000 of them on an election year. So if they keep doing it, if they show that they've discovered how to do something clickbaity that works, and then they never do it again, I'll give them all the credit in the world that they chose to not do that. But the people that figure it out and then double down, and that's their whole channel, they're hurting us because they're creating that environment of people that come in because they're interested and they're ambitious to do something, and they get discouraged by those people that do nothing. They're either, look what's coming, look, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, the sky's falling, and then the people go, man, the sky's falling all the time, there's nothing I can do, I'm out of here, I might as well just give up. Or it's the sky's falling, and then the people go, come on, whatever, the sky's not falling this often, I'm out of here. If they would be real, if they would just be like, hey, this is important, this is a number 4 on the importance, but we'd make a lot of it, we'd win if we push back on it. Like, this is a number 8, we have to push back on this. If they were just realistic about it, we wouldn't be losing as many people. And I can confidently say that. I'll shut up so we're not capitalizing the whole conversation, but I'm passionately against the people that exploit our communities for views. It's I'll just repeat myself if I say it's detrimental, but it's, it just keeps, it creates that in and out or back and or come and go type of community. And we don't need to be that way. Other communities aren't that way. Car stuff doesn't get political. People don't go, okay, I don't like my car anymore because I can't stand people who like my car. And that happens with guns. I'll shut up.
Yeah. Now, for me, when I click on their channel or something, man, it's when I say clickbait, myself, that's what I think of is their thumbnail and their title saying this, but then the videos don't have nothing to do with that. I just won't watch them anymore. I'll unsubscribe and just won't watch them. And I'll see stuff on there. I'll see basically most usually what happens is somebody puts out a video, it gets a lot of views, something's come out, and you'll see bam, 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 a bunch of videos on, the certain ruling or whatever the case is. And there's certain people I will watch because they'll take that. They will like, kind of cut it down in a quick, kind of a quick deal, give you kind of the, what it's about, and that's it. And then like their next video, they're doing something else, like they're like on to, doing the regular stuff. But those channels that just, like you said, basically the sky is falling all the time, I just won't watch them. And it might be good news that I might want to hear, or important news, but it just totally turns me the other way. I just won't even watch their channel. And I strongly believe, and a lot of people might argue with me or say I'm wrong, but I believe there are certain YouTube channels that can help rise the almost the cost of ammo or not being on the shelf because they're crying wolf, and I've seen videos, people put out videos like that, and it's like, oh, well, our local gun store, our blah, blah, blah has plenty of ammo, but they keep yelling it and keep yelling it and keep yelling it. People's like, oh, well, I better go buy some ammo. I better go buy, all this and that. And I think sometimes, not always, but sometimes they cause the problem. I mean, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but,
No, you're 100% right. It's definitely happened because they'll figure, again, people that are, especially back in the day when we were much smaller, easier to push us around. I don't want to say exactly because it'll probably, but anyway, there's a site that has, there's a site that conglomerates. I'll put it that way because I think that's vague enough. But there's been more than one, but I can remember one where because that site was paying people, then yeah, you had all the reason in the world to drive people to that site to buy stuff because it was a massive income source. So again, people that have no scruples, maybe that's the word I was looking for, just willing to do anything. They don't care. You're their friends, right? You're just their audience, and they harvest money from their audience. It's a douchebag move, like, to do that, but then the result of it is that whole group of people that got burned and everybody they know has, like, they've given the gun community a strike, like, I hope they're not all like this. I hope I don't get burned like this again. And even if they just hear about somebody getting burned like that again, 2 strikes, you know what I mean? And then it's like, oh, my wife's yelling at me, I'll do something else besides this gun community. I mean, I've just seen so many people come and go. Nobody sticks around longer than a couple of years. So I don't think that's because nobody in the country cares. I think it's because people get frustrated that nothing is accomplished by the methods that we've had over the years. But the good news is nobody sticks around, and neither do those exploiters. There are always somebody to exploit, but it's always a new group of people. There's a couple of people that have been around a while, but anybody you can think of today is pretty much 2 or 3 years old. As far as the YouTube channels, I think we're all talking about the same, like, YouTube channels, like you say, like the clickbait titles and the stupid thumbnails and shit. Like, they're only a couple of years old, and I don't want to say all of them, but a chunk of the big ones are run by the same, let's say, agency, I guess they're called, essentially managers who, share resources. So they're probably sharing the same person making thumbnails and sharing some of the same analytic, what would you call it? Like, people that do the analytics, So somebody's giving a whisper in their ear, hey, keep doing more of the same. It's paying, it's doing good. Anyway, so I think that'll eventually end. We'll have something new. Somebody else will come along. That Mark Smith is a better option than some of the others, isn't he? Or is he one of the ones we're talking about?
No, and I don't want to say any specific channels. And Mark Smith was not one of the ones that I'm talking about. I do watch his stuff. I
think of him as a evolution of the stuff that was where I think we're talking about.
Yeah, he's just he presents. I think he presents very good information at a very high volume. Not content wise, just he's very loud person. That he's one of the shouty kind of people.
Mm-hmm. You think that's because he's used to being in, like, his job was to do something where he had to, like, talk loud in a big room or, like, over the noise of something? Or you think
I think that probably always been kind of a high volume person.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
there
well-
are people that just are physically louder.
Yeah, maybe you lived in a big ass house as a kid and they had to yell everywhere or you live in a house that has like carpeting all over the place, so it's like constantly you have to yell just to hear somebody in the next room. I don't know what they're saying about calls them cartoon soldiers because I'm not keeping up there.
Mini Wayne's out there. Just got a little creepy in here. I looked at
I see what you're saying. Those channels are controlled by the opposition, whether they know it or not. I've never heard anybody say it that way, but that is one of my issues, and I have never been able to enunciate it like that. But that's if you're going to constantly get worried about whatever somebody tells you, then you're essentially their robot, right? Because they feed off whatever you say. Oh, did you see what they said? I can't imagine what they said. Did you see what they said? I can't imagine what. Oh, I said what they said. You know, it's not really the sky is falling. It's just like I'm so offended by the news I heard today. Well, then you're just sitting there sucking off of their teat. What thing they're going to tell you next? They literally own whatever you're going to say tomorrow, and as soon as they figure out that you're doing that, they own you. I agree with that 100%. And even if it isn't necessarily like A to B, if it smells like a duck and it looks like a duck, it's a duck. Like even if they're both not complicit, it's still happening, and we're allowed to realize that or recognize that this is a freaking mechanism, right? Like this person, doesn't matter what they're going to say, this person's going to react in the opposite way, and they're only going to react in the opposite way. And in fact, they're just sitting around waiting to learn how to react tomorrow. I think that's a great way of looking at it, or at least it's a great reason to not encourage that kind of behavior, right? Or not encourage that kind of content. I don't know if it'll likely feds. I don't think I've been watching so much shit about the feds and interviews with the feds. I think people give them like unreasonable levels of ability. Like they're still
Competency.
government. Yeah, that's perfectly. Like they're just still government agents. Yeah, they have ultimate power, and that's scary as shit. And who knows who their actual masters are if they're being told by their boss or by their sergeant. I don't know who we're talking about. What division or agency we're talking about, but are they held accountable by their what's the word, like dedication to the Constitution or the government or the country or something, or is it to the political off whoever's their boss at the time? Like I can tell you, being in the service, in the army, I don't like saying the service, when being in the army, one of the things you got to learn when you're a little kid in the army is who your bosses are, right? Who's literally every level. I forget how many levels there are. There's like 12 levels, and the president's the top level. So depending on what you do and where you are, one of your there's some general in charge of you, and then depending on your fort or your whatever base, you're getting a fort or post, you're going to have some commanding officer, and then you're going to have some division officer, and then you're going to have some platoon officer or platoon person, and then you're going to have a squad leader and all that. So in that realm, like some people are like, I report to my squad leader, and other people are like, I report to the president. And technically we both report to all of them, and realistically it's more of a theoretical if you care about what the president's doing or not. But some people are like, I'm going to be doing this job longer than the president is there, so I don't care who the president is. And then other people are like, I'm going to do my job according to who is the president. And I don't think there's a law about how you do that. You know what I mean? Like every person's going to do their job the way they want to. So I think that's an issue, or at least a factor. I don't know if it's an issue. Would that be better than super chats? If somebody could click a button and buy a donut, and then a donut was delivered to the person instead of being swatted, donuts were delivered to you, or pizza, or other things that people did emojis for, would that be better than super chats?
That would be nice.
Would YouTube still take 40%?
You only get
There's like a
60%
big
of
bite
that
out of
donut, though.
There's a big bite out of it that YouTube took.
They might take 2 bites. Who knows?
I wouldn't mind the donuts. I'm not monetized.
Somebody would be like, let's send them so many donuts it fills their garage or something. That kind of shit would be happening.
I did have a follow-up question for the topic.
I don't even know, did I hit it or did I go off on too many tangents there? But
no, I think I agree with what you said. That, it's kind of my.
I mean, it's kind of like bad paint. It's like it's not initially evident, and you can repaint it. So it's not like it's inevitable that it's going to rust the metal behind it, but bad paint will hide the metal rusting behind it. And then when the paint falls away, you don't have any metal behind it, you're screwed. So I think of it as something like that. It's hard to say, like, go away, like you're bad, because they probably have good intentions. They don't realize that what they're doing is grinding a bunch of people's energy away because they're, wearing them out with this guy. They're calling wolf instead of the sky is falling. I guess they're crying wolf, same kind of thing, I guess. But I don't think the people, and I think, honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe some of the reason that we see those people who cry wolf all the time leave is they probably figure out after a while, like, you know what, I've been crying wolf this whole time and my audience left. That means that these people left the community, because very rarely does an audience say, I don't like this YouTuber, I'm going to go to that YouTuber. Audiences go, I'm sick of YouTube, I'm going to go, drive my motorcycle, or I'm going to go get a new hobby offline. Like, I don't think people just jump from YouTuber to YouTuber necessarily. But maybe I'm being optimistic that those people realized what they did and stopped it. Maybe they just ran out of money because their shtick didn't work anymore.
I think it might be a mixture of both. People, switching from this YouTuber to that YouTuber, and or leaving. Because
I mean, initially, yes, you're going to go watch a YouTuber you like better. But I think once you watch like 6 YouTubers and you're like, oh, this is all the same. Because I've done that. Like, I quit watching everybody. I watched like some of my friends and that's it. But
yeah, I've known other people that have done that, where they're just get fed up with it and say, I can be doing other stuff.
I mean, I wish I didn't. I was thinking about doing this. I don't know if I'm never going to take the time, but maybe when I'm super rich and I got nothing else to do, I might do it for old time's sake. But like, think about it. I'm just going to say DJ Gizzard, Snob, and I don't want to say you guys because then it gets creepy. But right, if I say whatever I just said, now if I said Clover, Ghost, and Moo, right? Now if I said Mr. Knives, Pink, and I don't know, I don't even remember it. I'd have to think for a minute from the old days. Dead Horse. How many people remember those names? And then if I could keep going back. One Bad Marine, like, who remembers that name? Like, and that's just off the top of my head, people that are like good friends of mine that have come and gone. But and it's just the world, people think about your real life, like how many people stick around, unless you live next door to them or your family with them. We cycle through. We're humans, like, things happen to us, and we're interested in things and we're able to do stuff. But if somebody moves or if something happens, life changes. Internet and online, friendships and things are not priority. So if I go back to 1997 when I first started doing this shit, like, seriously, there's just my good friends in real life that exist since back then. And then if I go back to probably the oldest person is Recon. So you ever go to Instagram and see a guy called Recon going around that I talked to? I've known that guy since 2004 on Gun Chat, and he's still around doing things. But people have a cycle or whatever. I keep talking about it. So anyway, kind of getting into it there. But so Ozzy remembers them all. But yeah, and I could probably get in because that Gun Channels comes from the chats, which comes from the live chats. But the live chats come from the videos, which comes from the websites before that.
Yeah, I think I know most of those names. I came in like right after Gun Channel stopped.
But probably from talking about it, not from those people being around. Or maybe like they'll come into a show and I'll be like, hey, look, it's Bob. Bob's the guy that started doing the Daily Gun Show with me or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to go back down memory lane or say something. I'm just, that's just the way it is. Like I say, I think
that's something that I noticed when I started, especially after I started making videos myself. I noticed there seemed to be a regular progression where you'd see a channel come up, they start pumping out content, and then I think, either life gets in the way, or there's a fatigue that happens, and then you see them kind of start dropping off, and they might come back up, and then they're gone.
It's expectations too. Like there was a time there where everybody was like, I'm going to make money on YouTube. And that's not a factor anymore. Most people that are doing it now have some interest in what we're talking about. At least people that hang out with me have some interest. I don't know too many people that are like, I'm trying to make a living off of YouTube. Now, if you go over to other things that I'm doing, there's definitely people making a living or trying to make a living off of YouTube and successfully making a living off of YouTube. But like what Hillbilly does with the stock trading and stuff, if you, I don't know if you even have a channel for that or not, but you could make a living off a stock trading channel for sure, like easily, a good living.
Yeah, but you can very easily you gotta be really careful because unless you're a licensed financial person.
I got you. Well, okay. Aside from the financials or the licensing side, I just mean there's like it's more lucrative. You get way better cuts of the YouTube money. There's more people in there, and it's not like you're persecuted because you talked about guns or you talked about a magazine or today you talked about an optic or whatever happens. That's all I was getting at. But yeah, I mean, obviously, you got whatever pitfalls and hurdles you have to deal with, but I just mean there's. I always use the example. Last time I looked or paid attention. The best you can do on what you typically do on the gun side is like $8 for 1,000 clicks or whatever the numbers are.
Have a good night, Ron.
But to put that in perspective, if you did like a business YouTube channel, it's like $35 per 1,000 clicks or whatever the numbers are. So it's something like potential of 4 times easier to make money doing other things than gun stuff, just because of the way YouTube is.
Yeah, I mean, once you get 1,000 subscribers, you make so much money on YouTube, you don't even want to cash your paychecks,
And see what Brothers and Water is saying, just to harp on that. I think that one of the reasons I'm against the concept of like the clickbaity type of sky is falling channels is they don't offer a community of good stuff. So if there's nothing good around, then people they're looking for something good. So if we had, instead of like 12 clickbaity channels, if we had 12 different conversations, like remember when Barbecue would do a show when he ripped off my show and did like just a conversation show, but he was like almost always talking about 2A until the end when it spun out of control and got crazy. But having 6 or 8 different shows that are happening where they're roundtables and people are talking about 2A, we've had that. We've had that in the 17s into the 18s. We kind of had that. Maybe I'm shifting that. 18s and 19, we had that. When some of those organizations that started in 15 got old enough to figure out, hey, let's do some online stuff. Problem is they started doing it, dabbled in it right before the bullshit of the, 20. So everything got topsy-turvy and chaotic there and people's jobs got all messed up. So a lot of stuff that was just about to happen. Remember all the rallies we were going to have? That was the result of a lot of the live conversations actually getting real. So we got a, like a glitch we got a hiccup there, or we got a tripped up. And it, best laid plans are like, watching something just about to happen and then it didn't happen right at the end. The circumstances are different now. But I don't think it's never going to happen again. In fact, we got an election year here. Hopefully we'll see some dissatisfaction with the status quo, which is usually what instigates or inspires some new approaches. Remember Walt? I don't know if you watch Costly Conversations, and then there's one called A Better 2A or 2A A Better Way or something like that. Those are some that I can think of that are I'm just going to say liberal for a general, direction, but they're nuanced from that. But they're like new approaches to the conversation. They're just so quiet and slow that it's hard for me to watch them.
Walt was one. I had some issues with some of his stances. Not him being a liberal. I don't care for the most part. But I just found it difficult to listen to him.
Right, exactly. Like the again, that's just what's the word? Like a presentation thing more than anything, right? And he was talking about like some interesting things, but stuff I wasn't interested in. And I'm just using a specific example, but he's an indicator of, a group of folks like that are bringing new conversations to the mix. Again, I don't know what their expectations are and if they're realistic or not. One of the reasons I try to do the workshops is to give people some idea of like what's realistic, so that they don't set their goals like, oh, I'm going to make money, or I'm going to quit my job and do 2A on YouTube. Like, nope, that ain't going to happen. There's only like 3 people doing that, and they're the people we're talking about are fucking it up for everybody.
And Gabriel's out there, and Teddy Two Guns wants to know how's the fishing.
It's
been a while since I've been fishing.
I'm trying to think of like the last time I went fishing. I really like to go fishing again, but I don't think I will be. I think it'd be a lot tougher. When I was a kid, go fishing, it was awesome, right? If I went fishing now, I think I'd be thinking about all the things I could be doing instead of going fishing. It'd be pretty tough. The only way I could go fishing right now, I think, is if somebody I knew was like, hey, can you take me fishing to show me how to go fishing? I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go fishing. But I don't think I could just go fishing and enjoy it right now.
I don't know, man. There's some, I don't know. 2 dudes can get in a boat, go out and sit and fish for a couple hours, not hardly say a word to each other, maybe sip on a cold beer and have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I liked the most was where we used to live. There was a mill pond that was on the other side of town. So it was like 10-minute drive across town. I'd go just before sunup, sit out there for a couple hours and be by myself, and it's quiet, and I'd catch my limit and then go back home.
What's a mill pond?
It's kind of like a quarry. If you fill in a quarry, that's a mill pond.
Oh, okay. So it's fishing at that.
And
well, by everything it gets. What do you call it? Like, is it got a river running into it or out of it, or no?
There's a river that ran by it, so when it would flood, yes, you'd get. That's why, because they stocked it with trout, but there was also yellow perch, bluegill, and there were bass. There were some huge bass. I had one. I was reeling in probably like a 12-inch trout, and it in one gulp, I saw it come out of along the bank. Came out, one gulp, grabbed that trout, broke my line, and was gone.
Oh wow,
that's epic. That's super cool. I'd rather have that story than a trout. I've seen that. I've had that happen when I was a kid, and it's way better than anything else I can remember ever catching. Those kind of stories.
And there was catfish.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good place.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of river stuff. Like, I grew up with rivers, but I like lakes. I've been on the ocean, and I've been on big ass lakes, but I just like normal ass lakes. I like a lake where I can go
creeks,
around, look, whatever.
Creeks were always fun to fish in. Walk along the creek and fish while you're walking.
When I was a little kid, but now I don't like them. Like, out in Arizona, the creeks are tiny, so you're only going to get minnowy looking fish. They're technically there, and we've got a lot of crayfish issue. But I think the only thing we could do here is probably some kind of thing where there's trout. I don't like fishing for trout.
Yeah, so that's totally different around here. Like, you can catch, 5 to 10 pound bass or whatever on our creeks and stuff.
Well, you've got some of the best fishing on the planet, I think, in your area.
Yeah. Well, but like the sport of it, or the relaxation, like me and my dad, we go, people basically call floating, every weekend, and we start on a canoe, but like we could take a, like a 10-hour float to where you might not see very many houses, and a lot of people floated it because there wasn't like easy access getting in and taking out. And we'd float in the canoe, fish. Then like when we come up like on maybe a nice bend right before a shoal or whatever, we would paddle the boat to the edge, and then we'd just be out there waiting. Which I mean, we'd have like, well, back then they call them water socks or sandals, and you jump in and cool off all the time. So you'd be out there maybe chest deep with a rod and a reel, casting, and reeling in a nice bass or trout or whatever, while you're out there in the water chest deep, or what. And it was just life. I mean, it was just such a good part of life, just to have that the scenery and the peace and quiet, it's fun. And we would only keep just enough that we wanted to eat. We catch and release most of the time, but just save a few, to eat. And it's just, I love doing it.
Yeah, that kind of situation. You're talking like somebody drops you off in the morning and picks you up later.
Well, we would two of us, we'd leave a vehicle where it take out.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then go up and put in, and we'd have to go back and get our vehicle. But yeah, if you had a friend or somebody that would, meet you up there dropping off and then like take your rig down to where you're taking out, that would be awesome. But most of that didn't happen. So,
but still, like now when you're talking like that, like I could totally see that. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When I just never had that opportunity. Really.
When I was in grade school, my mom would drop a friend of mine and myself off at up on a hill. There was a cemetery, so she'd drop us off there, and then we'd walk Blackjack Creek down where it eventually ended up at the bay. So we'd be walking through the woods and fishing, and two grade school kids having fun.
That reminds me of when we would like a bunch of us, probably about 5 of us would, sometimes more, we've had up to 7, but anyway, a bunch of us we were in scouts. We would all tell our parents we got to camp out, and we'd all have them drop us off, and we'd all just go hiking and go camping. Like there was no camp out. We just decided to go camping, and we just go rogue camping for a couple of days and then have our parents pick us up, and they never questioned it because they're used to dropping us off for scouts or whatever. And we would do the same thing, just go out, bring a tent, kind of set up a road camp someplace and just be fishing, and brought whatever food we brought, and we just like got extra campouts in that way.
Yeah, something that we would try to do 2 or 3 times a year, to some of those boys at 16, 17 years old, we would pick basically a 2 or 3 day float, most usually a 2-day, depending on the weekend, and we'd pack maybe a tent, our food, drinks or whatever, and we would float, and we'd eat the fish we caught, and then halfway down, set up basically kind of like a little campsite on the gravel bar, and then float on down the rest of it the next day, and that's a lot of fun. I mean, we
is it like hard canoes or rafts? Like inflatable rafts?
No, like a hard canoe. Yeah,
that'd be cool. I always wanted to go to Minnesota. I think that's where it starts. Wherever the Mississippi starts, go to wherever the Mississippi starts, wherever it's navigable, right? Like wherever you can drop a canoe in it, and then buy a canoe there, and then get in with bring a backpack or something, but fly up there or something. Bring a backpack, buy a canoe, and whatever other stuff you couldn't fly up there with. Jump in the Mississippi, go down to New Orleans, and just give it away or sell it or something, and then go home. I always thought that would be a cool vacation. Just go canoe down the Mississippi.
I took when I went to Minnesota for my brother's wedding, part of the reception was did one of the boat tours on the Mississippi.
Oh, that'd be cool. Now that's good fishing. Have you fished up in Minnesota ever?
No.
So one of the reasons I get frustrated fishing is because I grew up fishing in northern Minnesota, in Canada border and stuff. So I've caught all kinds of cool fish that are fun to catch. And then until I found bass, I was bored with all the catfishes and stuff that doesn't fight that much. until I found the topwater bass down here. I joined the bass club and stuff, and was like, "Oh, you guys catch bass a whole different way." I had only caught bass like that a couple of times as a kid because everybody thought it was a waste of time, making a bass jump around because you're going to lose it half the time. So we didn't have strong gear like we got now. So I'd done it a few times with like frog lures when I was a kid, but you'd lose a bass half the time. So I didn't do it that often, and nobody liked cooking bass back then. But after I figured out how fun it is to grab a bass when, I don't know if you guys have ever done that, where you get like super strong line and a lure, and bass can be, it could have monkey hands grabbing onto the reeds and you're still pulling it out of there. Like it has no chance. It's either ripping its mouth off or coming with you. And then you just throw it right back in. But that's kind of fun when you catch a big giant bass that doesn't want to come out of the water.
Yeah.
Most of the bass that I caught were real small. You had like 8 inches. So,
well, even a little 8-inch bass ain't happy about coming out of the water. But yeah, they give up pretty quick. Well, all bass, I guess, give up pretty quick.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's nothing. I have a 5 to 10 pound bass come up out of the water 2 or 3 times, just shaking that lure, trying to get it, break loose. But we call them brownies or brown bass here. Basically, they come up the creeks in the summer, in the spring. I'm sorry, the spawn, and man, you can catch a 16, 18-inch brown bass, and the fight is on. You'll think you'll have a 12, 15 pound fish of something else that fights. They're just, I don't know what it is about them, but man, they put up a fight and they are a blast. And they basically would taste, they're a bass, so they taste like bass and all that stuff. But one of our favorite things in the spring is when we call them suckers, the yellow suckers. They come up out of the lake and spawn in the creeks by the hundreds. And during the season, you're allowed to use a grab hook and snag them, with a fishing pole. And they are so much fun to catch and very good eating. Yeah, there's a nice bass right there.
This is my 13-pound one that I got in Arizona one time. I got a taxidermist guy that worked for the museum down here, and I traded him for his website. So he put this together for me.
Nice.
wow.
It's as big as my puppy. He's never been next to it before, but yeah. This was 13 pounds. It was, I forget the circumstance. It was a long time. It was in the 90s probably. Early 2000s maybe. But one of those deals where you come in and you weigh it, and I didn't know. Everybody's like, oh, that's a record bass. That's a record bass, right? Took it to the weigh-in place, and it wasn't the official-ish scale or whatever. So I got some kind of big fish for the lake, but for the state, it wasn't the right kind of weigh-in, but it still wasn't the biggest or nothing. It was like number 3 that year. But
oh, wow.
definitely my biggest fish.
That's a nice fish. No doubt about that.
Hillbilly,
Yes, sir.
is there anything you'd like to plug?
Oh, man. I got I think videos coming out dang near about every day, either a short or a full content video. And then of course on Saturday nights we got Guns, Beer, and Therapy, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern. So if you guys ain't doing nothing on a Saturday night around that time, come by and visit us. We just try to have fun. You never know what we're going to be talking about. So anyway, thanks for having me on here, Foss. I really appreciate it, buddy.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. GearWebsites.com for 2A stickers, patches, books, logo design, web design, 3D printing, technology consulting, and so much more. GearWebsites.com. G-Webs, are you going to be whatnotting this weekend?
Yeah, we did another one this morning, and I'm probably going to do another knife one. Well, it kind of depends on when I fall asleep tonight, I guess. I did drink a Monster today, and I'm not tired, but it's in the middle of the night. So anyway, it depends on if I can get some more knives in there, if I'll do a knife one. But I've got a a home. I think it's no. I have a toy one set up, and I haven't got any of. I was thinking I was going to have time to put together a toy show, but then Whatnot ran this knife special this weekend, so I decided to do participate in that and do a knife show. So I guess it's undetermined if I'll do a third knife show tomorrow or try to get a toy show together. I've got a bunch of Star Wars stuff I was thinking of doing, like a Star Wars toy show. See how that goes. What do you think on a Sunday? Should I do the knife show or should I try a Star Wars show and then, or a toy show, depending on what it is? And then second question, what time of day do you think I should do it?
I don't know, and I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know either.
Anything else you want to plug?
Chief Fire should be live tomorrow, middle of the afternoon. It's a good channel to watch. Check out. And then I'll say I was just watching before this show. I think the only thing I found from the NRA annual meeting is with Professor Yamane from Light Overheat. This is the YouTube channel, and he has a 33-minute stream filming. He took his phone and horizontally, at least, filmed the part of the NRA members meeting where, and the only meat we got, the meat of the meeting, which unfortunately didn't amount to much, but I've been watching that, so that might be worth watching. It's the only footage from the NRA meeting that's actually the meeting and not, just the toys outside. The FYI, it was the, what's the word? Like it was the, it's not a bill, whatever they call it in a committee, like the referendum or whatever it's called, like the idea to move the NRA from Virginia to Texas.
To Texas, yeah.
And how much that's going to cost and that kind of stuff. So it had like Amanda Suffolk stood up, a couple other people, a sheriff from Tucson, and then Ron Pincus and a couple other people all got up and said stuff. And then the board, well, I don't know, do you want me to spoil it? They voted against it. So they're not going to move to Texas. But that's 33 minutes. It's interesting, and it gives you an idea of the people in the room and how it went and how upset the people were when they then said, I guess I'll just tell you, we got to go. Trump starts at noon, so we have to end the meeting because we got to go see Trump. So instead of letting anybody else talk about anything else, they just ended the meeting kind of abruptly with one actual issue. And then everybody started shouting. So you get all of that which is essentially all the meat of the event. And you get to see how many people were there. I'm encouraged because about 3/4 of the room, 2/3 of the room, somewhere in there, was there to challenge the sitting board that ruined everything. And only a few people in the front rows were old school or whatever. What would you call it? Like old guard?
Yeah.
So anyway, if anybody's interested to see what the actual stuff that happened with changing of the NRA, it's probably the most important meeting that the NRA's ever had since 1977. And the results of it is on Professor Yamane's channel.
Well, hopefully it'll be a catalyst for change.
Oh, it will be. Sounds like the new board gets voted in their meeting Monday. So from Monday on, it's a new board. It's over. So it's going to be changed from Monday on. The difference is what could have happened, or what the opportunity that was missing was everybody in that room being active instead of a third of the room being active or whatever.
Well, I forgot the banner. So if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talked about, agree with, disagree with. There's a link in the description for the Gilded server. It's a place to kind of hang out, chit chat. You can share pictures and memes and stuff like that. And you can get a hold of me there, or pretty much anybody else that's comes on the panels. You can get a hold of them too. So there will be a mouse party on Wednesday. I think the first is normally would be an overnight, but I'll be at Thunder on the Prairie. so there won't be an overnight in 2 weeks. Maybe push it to a Wednesday before or after. I don't know. We'll see.
They won't let you go live in Nebraska because of the Panhandle.
Reception isn't that great out there. You're literally in the middle of cornfields. So it's kind of really spotty on the reception. But Larry's out there at the last minute. Larry Knopf. And other than that, if you watch this in replay, leave a comment. Anything we talk about, agree with, disagree with? What's your favorite fish?
You almost ended the show without even the poll. So, I mean, the bracket.
Oh no, I got the results from the level 3 diagnostic, and the Heisenberg compensator is out of alignment. So I have to wait until the specialist can be brought in to realign that. So
I've watched a YouTube video where that can be addressed with a copper wire and one of those twist ties from a bag of bread.
Oh no, I wouldn't want to take the chance. So thank you to everybody that was
YouTube channel though too.
What's that?
You had a cool poll on your YouTube channel. On your
I don't remember.
community.
I don't remember what I do. So thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Other than that, again, thank you for everybody that was out there in the live chat participating. And if you watched and didn't say anything, I do appreciate you too. Don't be afraid to speak up. Let me know that you're out there. Be acknowledged. And I hope everybody has a good rest of the night and go do something good.
You still here? It's over. Go home. Go.